You ever wonder why they stare at you the way they do? Like you're some unfinished puzzle they can't solve. It's not because you're broken. No, that's too easy. It's because you're whole and they can't stand it. See, people like them, the ones who whisper behind your back, who smirk at your silence, they thrive on one thing: control. And you're the one thing they can't control. That terrifies them. They want you to feel small, to crawl back to them for validation, to beg them for scraps of approval like a starving dog. But you don't, do you? And that's what burns them. Because deep down, they know they'll never be as free as you are. Freedom isn't given, it's earned. And you've earned yours. You want to know the truth about people? They don't hate you for your flaws. They hate you for your strength. They hate that you can wake up, face the mirror, and say, I'm enough. You ever think about why they try to tear you down every time you stand tall? It's not because they think you're weak. It's because they see how strong you can be, and it scares the hell out of them. People like to preach about love, don't they? Oh, they'll tell you love is patient. Love is kind. But here's the part they leave out. Love is selfish. The moment you stop needing them to feel whole, they'll stop pretending to care. That's when the mask slips, and you see them for who they really are. Leeches, parasites, feeding off your self-doubt. Because if you're whole on your own, what use do you have for them? They hate you because you've done the one thing they can't. You've learned to live with yourself. They can't go 5 minutes alone in their own heads without drowning in their insecurities. But you've walked through your pain. You've sat in the silence of your own mind and made peace with the chaos. That's a power they'll never have. Let me tell you a little secret. The world doesn't reward strength. It rewards submission. It wants you to fit into its little boxes, to play by its rules, to conform. And if you refuse, they'll come for you. Not with knives or guns. No, they're smarter than that. They'll use words, whispered doubts, little digs that burrow into your brain like parasites. You're not good enough. You're too much. Who do you think you are? But here's the kicker. They're not talking to you. They're talking to themselves. Every insult they throw at you is just a reflection of their own insecurities, their own fears. They hate you because you remind them of everything they're too afraid to be. You're the mirror they don't want to look into. You ever notice how people only clap for you when you're on your knees? When you're broken, they'll line up to help. They'll pat your back, say all the right things, act like they care. But the moment you start to rise, the moment you find your footing and stand tall, that's when they vanish.
please take this short break from your video. We know how important the videos are to you. So all we ask from you is to support the channel by purchasing your special Inspire Network hoodie or Inspire Network coffee cup. Please enjoy the rest of the video.
Or worse, that's when they turn on you. You see, people love a victim. They can feel superior to a victim. But a survivor, a fighter, that's a threat. Survivors don't need their pity. Fighters don't need their approval. And nothing pisses them off more than knowing you don't need them to survive. They hate that you've stopped looking for a savior, that you've stopped waiting for someone to rescue you, because deep down, they know they're not saviors. They're anchors, dead weight, dragging you down while pretending to lift you up. You know what the real joke is? They'll call you selfish for walking away, for choosing yourself. But where were they when you were drowning? When the walls were closing in and you couldn't breathe? Oh, they were there, watching, smiling, hoping you'd sink just low enough to need them. But you didn't sink, did you? No, you swam. You clawed your way out of the darkness, inch by bloody inch. And now that you're standing on solid ground, they want to pull you back under. Why? Because your survival makes them feel weak. Your strength reminds them of their own cowardice. Let me tell you something, kid. You don't owe them a damn thing. Not your time, not your energy, not your peace. The only person you owe anything to is yourself. And you owe yourself everything. Every step you've taken, every scar you've earned, it's yours. Own it. Wear it like armor, because that's what it is. And when they come at you, because they will, don't flinch. Don't apologize for being whole. Don't shrink yourself to make them comfortable. Let them choke on their own envy. Let them drown in their own insecurities. Because at the end of the day, they're not mad at you. They're mad at themselves for not being brave enough to do what you've done. They hate that you don't need them to feel complete. But that's their problem, not yours. So keep standing, keep fighting, and most importantly, keep being you, because that's the one thing they can never take away. Remember this: you are whole, you are enough. And they'll never be able to take that from you. So let them hate. Let them whisper. Let them try. Because at the end of the day, you're untouchable. And they know it. You know, I used to think the world was just broken. That people were just products of their pain, lashing out because they didn't know any better. But I was wrong. They know exactly what they're doing. See, most people, they're not victims of their circumstances. They're architects of their own misery. And the worst part? They want you to build it with them. They hate seeing someone like you, a builder. Someone who can take rubble and turn it into a fortress. That's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to crumble like them. You're supposed to fall apart so they can feel better about their own ruins. But you didn't, did you? No. You stood in the middle of the wreckage and said, "Not today." And they hate you for it. They'll call you arrogant. They'll say you think you're better than them. But here's the truth. You are. Not because you're perfect, not because you have all the answers, but because you had the courage to face yourself, to stand in front of the mirror and say, "I am who I am, and I'm okay with that." You know how rare that is? Most people can't even look at themselves without flinching. They cover their mirrors, drown their thoughts in noise, surround themselves with distractions, anything to avoid the truth staring back at them. But you faced it. You stared into the abyss, and you didn't blink. They hate that you've stopped chasing them, that you've stopped running after their approval, their validation. Because if you're not chasing them, who's left to make them feel important? Who's left to prop up their fragile little egos? You were never supposed to outgrow them. You were supposed to stay small, stay needy. But you didn't. And now they don't know what to do with you. They'll say you've changed, that you're cold, distant, unrecognizable. But don't let their words fool you. It's not you who's changed. It's their perception of you. You see, they only liked you when you were beneath them, when you needed them. Now that you don't, now that you've risen above their petty games, they can't stand the sight of you. You ever hear the saying, misery loves company? Well, let me tell you something, that's a lie. Misery doesn't just love company, it demands it. It drags everyone down to its level like quicksand pulling you under. And the moment you stop sinking, the moment you find a way out, it turns on you. Because your freedom is a threat to their captivity. They'll do anything to pull you back down. Lies, manipulation, guilt. Oh, they're masters of guilt, aren't they? How could you leave? After everything we did for you, they'll paint themselves as martyrs, as saints. But don't fall for it. Saints don't need to remind you of their sacrifices. And martyrs don't chain you to their cross. You don't owe them your loyalty. Not to the ones who tried to break you. Not to the ones who smiled while you suffered. Loyalty isn't a blind chain. It's a bond, earned through trust and respect. And tell me, where was their loyalty when you needed it? Where were they when the world was tearing you apart? Let me tell you where they were. They were watching, waiting, hoping you'd fall just low enough to need them. And when you didn't, when you clawed your way out on your own, they turned on you. Because that's what cowards do. They don't celebrate your strength. They fear it. And instead of rising to meet you, they'd rather drag you back down to their level. They hate you because you're not afraid to be alone, to walk away, to stand on your own 2 feet and say, I don't need you. That kind of independence, it's like poison to people like them. It reminds them of everything they'll never be. But don't let their hate confuse you. Their anger isn't power. It's weakness. It's fear, dressed up as fury. They're not mad at you. They're mad at themselves. Mad that they'll never have the courage to do what you've done. Mad that no matter how much they try to control you, they'll never own you. So let them hate. Let them whisper. Let them plot. Let them throw their little tantrums. Because at the end of the day, their hate is a compliment. It means you've done something they can't. It means you've risen above their noise, their games, their traps. And that makes you untouchable. But don't mistake their hate for power. Hate is nothing without action. And all they'll ever do is talk, whisper behind closed doors, stare with jealous eyes. They'll never have the courage to face you, to confront you, because deep down they know they've already lost. Remember this: the strongest people aren't the ones who stand with a crowd. They're the ones who stand alone. And you've done what they can't. You've built yourself up. You've faced your demons, your fears, your pain. And now you're untouchable, unbreakable. So let them hate, let them talk, let them try. Because at the end of the day, you don't need them. And that's the thing they'll never forgive. You know what they'll say next, don't you? You've changed. Oh, they love that one. They'll look you dead in the eye and try to guilt you with it. You're not the same person anymore. But let me tell you something. They don't mean that as a compliment. No. What they're really saying is, you've stopped playing by my rules. You've stopped letting me define who you are. And that drives them insane.